Coming up next, while Florida Governor Ron DeSantis emerges as a top contender for the Republican nomination for president in 2024, his Democratic opponent in the race for governor in 2018 was just hit with a 21-count federal indictment. Our legal panel breaks down the allegations against former Tallahassee Mayor Andrew Gillum. That's next on Morning Joe.
41 past the hour. Federal prosecutors have arrested and charged former Tallahassee mayor and 2018 Democrat gubernatorial candidate Andrew Gillum with conspiracy, wire fraud, and making false statements. According to the indictment unsealed yesterday, Gillum and his political advisor allegedly solicited hundreds of thousands of dollars in campaign funds and diverted some for personal use. While both have been charged with 19 counts of wire fraud, only Gillum has been charged with making false statements to the FBI. The defendants face a maximum of 20 years in prison for charges of conspiracy to commit wire fraud. Back in 2018, Gillum ran for governor, securing the Democratic nomination, but narrowly lost to Republican Ron DeSantis. Gillum has denied any wrongdoing and put out a pretty strong statement, writing in part, quote, "I've spent the last 20 years of my life in public service and continue to fight for the people. Every campaign I've run has been done with integrity. Make no mistake that this case is not legal. It is political." For more on these charges, let's bring in MSNBC legal analyst Charles Coleman and State Attorney for Palm Beach County, Florida, Dave Ehrenberg. Dave, this involved Gillum's actions between 2016 and 2019. What are they alleging he exactly did? And what do you make of his statement saying this is political?
Yeah, good morning, Mika. This stems from an investigation that started actually back in 2015 into the activities in Tallahassee City Hall. So the FBI interviewed Andrew Gillum back in 2017, and he went there voluntarily and said that he received no benefits from these businessmen who just came to town mysteriously. Well, it turns out they were undercover FBI agents, and they did, according to the indictment, give him a free trip to New York, among other things. So that's part of the lie that they're accusing him of. Plus, he said he cut off talks with these businessmen after they made some inappropriate requests in return for campaign contributions. And the FBI is saying, no, that is a lie. So that's the count of lying to the FBI. Then you have the 20 counts involving wire fraud, 19 counts of wire fraud, one involving conspiracy to commit wire fraud. And you said it outright. This is about a no-show job that was allegedly created by a co-conspirator to funnel campaign funds and grants back into Andrew Gillum's pockets.
So there seems to be also this use of campaign money for personal use. I mean, at this point, it just seems like, why do people keep putting their hand on the hot stove? But what are the allegations here?
Yeah, there's the allegations are that he pocketed money that was meant for the campaign, that was meant for get out the vote efforts. And, you know, when it comes to campaign finance rules, they're pretty vague. And he's not being charged under campaign finance statutes. He's being charged under wire fraud. And that is the most popular crime for federal prosecutors. It's easy to prove. It's tough to defend. And it could get you up to 20 years per count. But according to sentencing guidelines, Mika, he's really facing, I think, up to 5 years in prison and less if he takes a plea. And as far as what you mentioned earlier about this whole thing being politically motivated, I tell you, unless you're trying to tell me that Merrick Garland is targeting Andrew because he's a Democrat, I don't buy it. And Florida Democrats that I've spoken to, they're just disappointed and frustrated by this whole thing. Andrew was a whisker away from becoming governor and made some bad decisions personally and politically that allowed Ron DeSantis to squeak by with 33,000 votes out of a total of 8 million votes. And just imagine the alternate political universe had Andrew been able to make the right decisions and win in the end. I mean, Ron DeSantis wouldn't be presidential candidate Ron DeSantis, and traditionally purple Florida wouldn't have become a MAGA petri dish.
Yeah, Andrew Gillum was leading right down in the closing stretch there and lost, as you said, by a handful of votes. Charles, this is a pretty serious indictment, 21 counts, a federal indictment. What do you see in here, and what do you exactly, how bad could this be for Gillum in terms of jail time?
Well, Willie, make no mistake about it, this is an ugly situation, and it does not look good for Andrew Gillum. When you're talking about federal prosecutors, what we know is that usually when there's smoke, there's fire. There was a statement that was put out by Gillum's attorneys where they said the federal government got it wrong. And I know that that's what lawyers are supposed to say when they're defending their client, but the likelihood that that's true is probably very low.